right, welcome everyone. I know everyone's still connecting to video and to sound, so we're going to give everyone a minute here to go ahead and hop in. Welcome, welcome. We're excited because we are talking today about student certifications and also teacher micro credentials, and so it's a great topic, as Joe will share, as kind of an assessment piece. So we're going to talk here in just a moment, and I'm going to toss it over to Joe. But as we're getting kind of settled in, a couple things that you can do if you want to locate the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. That's always exciting to see where everyone's from. And as you do that, we will go ahead and kind of go over today's agenda and talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. So South Carolina, excellent. Davie, Florida, yes. Nice. Okay, we have a few more people joining us. Indiana. All right, so as you are in the chat introducing yourselves, my name is Linda. I am a PD specialist here with CodeHS, and I am joined today by Joe Thompson. He's a computer science teacher in Maryland, and he is going to be presenting today. Before we do that, I want to introduce also Lori Goldade is here with us. She is a PD specialist as well. Joni is also a PD specialist, and Ursula works with our customer experience team, and she is here to help answer any questions that you have. So we'll be talking about where you can post your questions in just a moment. But as we do that, I want to hand it over to Joe as quickly as possible. So we're going to take a look at the agenda here for today. So Joe, if you want to go to the next slide for me.
Hold on.
Oops. All right, no worries. All right, so we are, for now, just doing a quick welcome. Joe will talk about all sorts of different types of certifications. Those that are offered through CodeHS, but also other types of certifications. I'll wrap it up with micro credentials, and then we'll do a little bit of Q&A at the end if we have a little time. So, we have a teacher from Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome, welcome.
Fantastic.
All right. So on the next slide, we have a parking lot for you to go ahead and drop any questions that you might have. So Joni went ahead and threw that into the chat for us. And this is a really great place to start because it not only has the links for the questions. If you have a question throughout the course of our time together, sometimes they get buried in the chat. So what we like to do is just kind of keep it in this one document that we can also just have, some back and forth conversation with you, and provide you with knowledge-based article links. If they're relevant, and any questions that you have, go ahead and throw it into that question parking lot. In addition, you're going to see some additional links at the top of that document that are also going to be helpful throughout the course of our time together. So definitely go ahead and go to codehs.com/certs questions, or if you'd like, you can scan the QR code there with the dinosaur on it, and that's another great way to get to that question parking lot and those links that we'll be sharing out. All right. If you are new to CodeHS, haven't signed up as a teacher yet, Joni went ahead and dropped the link to sign up. Just go to codehs.com/sign up. And then you just want to click the teacher button. We'll go ahead and get you set up there. And lastly, once you have signed up for an account, or if you are logged into your account, we can go ahead and we want to send you a PD certificate with 1 hour of PD credit for today. So go ahead and go to codehs.com/certs-attend, and that will go ahead and mark your attendance for today. And that's all you have to do. It's a one-click process. We don't collect any information. We just simply want to go ahead and send you that PD certificate later today. All right, so I am going to turn it over to Joe because you are not here to listen to me talk. So without further ado, Joe, take it away.
Thank you very much, Linda, and CodeHS team. It's great to be here. I've been with CodeHS, using CodeHS in the classroom for 8 years now, which is a little hard to imagine how it's been that long. And I have bookended my talk today with 2 short videos that I think could just sort of stir us up a little bit. So let's go.
My name is Megan MacArthur. I'm the pilot for NASA's SpaceX Crew 2 mission to the International Space Station. I first thought of becoming an astronaut when I was in high school. So my dad was a Navy pilot, and so I first thought, well, I'd love to be a pilot. We lived at Moffett Field Naval Air Station, which was connected with Ames Research Center. We'd hear the wind tunnels going, you know, at all hours of the day and night. And also it's where shuttle astronauts would come to do their landing and rollout training. And so I would see them, you know, come in their T-38 jets and get out in their spiffy blue flight suits and walk in to do their training. And I thought, well, that looks like fun. How do I get that job? And I knew that it was a long shot, right? But I also knew that I wanted to be a part of something like that, right? A part of this bigger thing of exploration. And then I kind of took this left turn into oceanography, but really it's all about exploration. We're not better equipped to survive underwater, you know, any better than we are in outer space. And so we need technology to help us explore those areas. So how do we do those things? You know, we can send rovers, we can send people, you know, we have to build the right kind of machines to support that. And so there's a lot of parallels. From graduate school in oceanography, I always had this idea in the back of my mind, and I went ahead and applied, and I got really lucky. Every launch experience is very unique to the individual. You know, we climbed aboard and there's that period of waiting, and you actually get a little bit uncomfortable. You know, your body starts to cramp up and you're ready to go. And then when the actual launch goes, it's indescribable. It's so much energy. You are moving so fast. One of my main focuses was capturing this free-flying vehicle, the Hubble Space Telescope. The really complicated spacewalks that were planned out, 5 spacewalks back to back to back. So it was just this tremendous rush of activity for really 11 days until we were ready to let the telescope go. 3, 2, 1, release. I'm backing away. Clear the antenna. We dream these amazing dreams, we have these huge goals, and we're going to be successful when we work on them together. When you think about the International Space Station and the size of that vehicle and the breadth of science that gets accomplished on that vehicle with all of the different countries that are participating, and then now we've added commercial partners where they have a vehicle that we are using to get us to our space laboratory. Have these big dreams where we look out to the horizon and this desire to explore the universe around us, and we're always going to be more successful when we work together to achieve these incredible dreams.
Oh, sorry.
My name is Megan MacArthur.
Let's go to the next slide. All right, I'm here to talk today about badges and certifications, and these work as other motivations and goals for us and for our students to do all kinds of good things, including getting jobs, but a lot of other things good things that happen when you pursue a badge. And we all know about professional certifications, and I'm going to talk a little more about those in a minute. And is my feeling that badges are kind of like a mini certification, and it's a mini certification that's not that far away. That's maybe a matter of finishing a couple of exercises or finishing a part of a module, and those are worth making a big deal out of, I think. So I have a few examples here of badges that I made, and you can make badges out of anything in CodeHS. It's really easy to do, and so I went out and found some images and made badges for percentage completes on my courses as one kind of nice goal for people to have. a 20% badge, a 40% badge. And then you can also think of the badges as a little mini cert. Like here, we all know that user input is super important in coding, and it's absolutely essential for whatever language you're learning to learn how to take user input. So this is something you could kind of make a fuss about. And I would recommend that you consider printing out these badges on a normal 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and maybe sign them and hand them to the students, or at least make them aware that there's that possibility for them. Some of our all of our CodeHS courses have pretty interesting projects in them, and I like the idea of completing those projects and having that be a badge. So the tic-tac-toe game in Java, which is a nice milestone for our Java students, is in itself a badge. And I know that in CodeHS, there's a battleship game that's there. There's all kinds of other projects that are there, and each of those projects is worth thinking about making into a badge. And then I have another one for, there's always going to be some competitive people and they like to be the first. No problem recognizing that for those individuals who are into that. This is an example of a badge that I made in AP Java for the array list module, and I just took a Java symbol and put array list there and made a badge out of it. And I kind of I think you should strongly think about having badges for finishing modules. Definitely, there are some modules that are relatively easy, and there's some other ones that are a real battle. And you want your students to try to look at all the exercises and ask you for help if they can't get an exercise done. And a goal should be to finish the module completely. So I'm in favor, if there is no badge existing at the end of a module, I strongly recommend that you make a badge for each module in your courses. And then I do some other stuff like types of thinking, or somebody who's handling the major, abstractions that exist in Java. We have all kinds of abstract concepts which are tough. And if you sense that a student is managing a certain type of thinking, or maybe they're really good at writing comments, or they have collaborated well with other students in the class, and you've seen that, you can really work on making some badges that reflect the things that you guys prioritize in your classroom, and incorporate those into your teaching by recognizing students with badges. And of course, any of the online platforms that you see are going to award badges for getting started. That's a super important step, getting that first exercise done, making your way through the first lesson. And I strongly recommend that you create a get started badge and that you award those. In AP Java, it's a real battle to get halfway done. So I made this lemon on a pear badge, and that gets to the first student who finishes the first half of the course. In Java also, we have tools, outside tools, that we hopefully are showing our students a little bit how to use those. And when I see students using IntelliJ, I think it's worth noting. And I'd like them to take learning to use the tool seriously. IntelliJ has some tools built into it that help teach you how to use it. I actually really like taking sample code from CodeHS and dropping it into IntelliJ and running it there. And some of the stuff some of the tools in IntelliJ are particularly good for things like 2D arrays or nested for loops. If you drop the breakpoint in and you can use IntelliJ well, I think that's a skill that I want my students to learn. And this is a badge that reflects that as a priority or a mark of making progress. Here's the collaboration badge. We know that our companies and agencies want our students to function in flat organizations. They want them to work in teams of 2, 3, or 4. And I happen to think that's a skill. And I've seen some students that were pretty smart in some other ways and didn't really have the collaboration skills to function well in a small team. And so I like to recognize the students that are good at that are good at, giving credit to other members of the team. They're good at debugging other people's code. They're willing to help their next door neighbor. I think collaboration is a skill, and I think it's an important skill to take into the workplace or up into the next level in college. Here's another example of a project badge where I found a battleship game online, old picture of an old battleship game, and I give this badge out when people write battleship. A lot of us are, scratching our heads and wondering how do we work CodeHS in combination with the AP Classroom or in combination with some other platforms. Some of you guys use CS Awesome, and I think it's the skill of the individual classroom teacher to bring as many helpful elements to bear on their course as they can. And CodeHS gives you plenty of opportunities you can bring in outside videos into your classes, you can bring in other things, and why not create a badge that reflects the use of those other things, like the AP Classroom, for example. And now this might be a nice moment for you guys to just take a minute or 30 seconds and make some notes about some badges that you think you might want to make for your courses. All right, let's give another 5 or 10 seconds here. I do like the idea of badges as a mini cert, and we've all had in this tough time the last couple of years. There's been a lot of pressure on sort of exactly how we do grading and assessments, and again, I hope you would think of badges and certs as a nice alternative or way around the challenges of figuring out where somebody sits. Are they a B- or a B+ or a B? Really getting them to think about what do I have demonstrable knowledge that I can show with a badge or with a cert. Okay, so let's move on to where some more forms of recognition, and I've had just tremendous good luck with something that I call the Hall of Fame. It's just a way of recognizing stuff that students do on an ongoing basis. And I've just taken the gigantic easel-sized sticky notes and I put them up on the wall. And this year I had some art students help me with this. And what can go on the Hall of Fame? Well, you can think about badges as a start for places to put Hall of Fame. We certainly know there are some awfully tough CodeHS exercises, a unit, circle, and other ones, or finishing the breakout game in CodeHS. You might decide that that's a worthy accomplishment, worthy of the Hall of Fame. But it's a nice rhythm to notice something good happening in your class and say, I think that's a Hall of Fame moment there, and the students really enjoy seeing their achievements recognized. And you might want to make a couple of notes about the things that your students have done that you are most proud of, and those things can go on the Hall of Fame. So here is an updated Hall of Fame that's in my classroom right now, and I'm grateful to Gabe Frazier from my intro class, who's an art student who sort of framed this out and helped get it going. You can see I've sort of added to it also. I have a student, Leo Doyle, who's got 2 different apps on the Google Play Store. And you can have fun with this. You can work it in the way that you want to work it. It's really up to you how you recognize people and where it goes. But I strongly recommend that you consider doing something like this. This is just a simple piece of big sticky note that goes on the wall anywhere. Certs are a good thing to go in the Hall of Fame, and I made this note about cleaning up and redoing it. I think even that process of redoing the Hall of Fame can be a nice moment for you as a teacher and for your students. The previous version of this one was pretty ragged looking because I'd made it all myself and sort of ongoing, but it's nice to redo them every once in a while. So this is some stuff that's work in progress, and you can see some nice art on here and some ragged stuff where I added it in. But I had a team that learned a lot about using Burp Suite in my cyber class, and I wanted to recognize them for actually finishing a CTF challenge. And then, you know, some guy does particularly well on a quiz. We call him the king of that quiz. And, you know, Blake is to this day very proud of having succeeded very well on this one particular quiz that he did. Nothing wrong with putting a particularly tricky CodeHS question on the Hall of Fame. Certainly, we're all familiar with how tough Super Cleanup Carol is, and I like to recognize that. And then I had some people do fried egg that I liked. I had a couple of students who figured out ways to put sound into the CodeHS JavaScript target one. So, you know, I recognize that. I thought that was a real good innovation. And then I had another guy that wrote in Java a code for converting different bases. I like that code too. Bang guns here. We did a local coding competition, not a cyber competition, CTF competition with a place in Westminster, Maryland. And it was an interesting competition. There were a lot of teams from overseas there. And so I recognized our guys who did that up on the Hall of Fame. They liked that, seeing that. Students of yours who are coders who get admitted to colleges, you could certainly put that in. And I had some people get some work studies. That's a nice thing to do. It's a big business or a big industry around where we are, is working at government agencies. And last year I was lucky enough to have a team win CodeQuest, which is a Lockheed Martin coding contest, comes along in the spring. Something nice you can throw on Hall of Fame. Now you might think about where this goes. You guys are all pretty good at filling empty spaces in your room. I have them in between windows. I have one quite close to the whiteboard. I have another one that's actually stuck to a whiteboard that I found I wasn't really using very much. So I put a Hall of Fame actually on one of my whiteboards. In addition to the Hall of Fame, I really like the idea of having a list of the different certs in the classroom, because students will come in at the start of the year or maybe during the year. And, you know, we all know that goal setting is a really important thing for your coders. They're going to put a lot of energy into what they're doing, and they don't want to be reaching. You don't want to have them reaching for something that is really way in the future. You want them to have reasonable goals that are attainable. And so I like to have actually a list of the certs that people might try for, and that can sort of spur conversation. So actually having it on the wall can really be helpful. What sort of certs are we talking about? Well, we can begin with the CodeHS certs. And some of you guys haven't done any CodeHS certs. I would suggest that you log on to your CodeHS account, and over on the left side in that black left column is an item called certifications. And if you click on there, there'll be some information there. If you actually have some CodeHS vouchers, you will see a list like this of students who have either not taken the cert yet, or have taken it and passed, or in the rare case, some of them have taken it and failed. And, you know, this one, we had a guy who failed and took it again. And that's a great badge of being able to conquer adversity, I think. But I really like the CodeHS certs. And this is the, this code that you see at the top would be the cert that a student would use to submit their voucher so that they can save a cert test for themselves. That does not commit them to taking that cert exam at that moment. The certs are about an hour, take about an hour. You get 90 minutes. Most students take like an hour 10 to take the questions, and they're all multiple choice questions. Recently, we at McDonough made the decision to sort of move away from the APs exams, and we're not the first school to do that. There's some other schools near us that has had quite a bit of controversy because they decided that they weren't going to be doing APs anymore. And so with our decision, our school's decision to de-emphasize the AP, the AP for me as an AP Java teacher now drops into sort of another in the pantheon of certs that's out there. It doesn't go away completely, but it's one a student can shoot for. And then there are some other certs that are sort of easier or more attainable than the AP, and others that are even harder. But so it's sort of part of a continuum of certifications that people can shoot for. I find that the AP that has some real issues, and one of the things is that it's only offered one day a year, and it would be nice for a student who felt they were really ready to take it in, say, February, to be able to go ahead and take the cert then, and that's a feature of other certifications. The AP also is not recognized typically, in my experience, for placement in the AP in computer science. Your students will still need to take CS1. I also feel in both the multiple choice questions and the FRQs that the AP exam is a little more about English language skills as much as it is about coding. And so that can lead to intimidation for students both before they take the exam and after. And of course, none of us wants to see students have a bad experience on the AP and then say, this coding is obviously not for me, because they are missing incredible opportunities if they decide that they are not going to continue with coding. We all want them to keep going. That's our main message. So the basic problem of a weed out exam or course, would be that you might have some students that excel in it and are awesome, but industry and agencies are looking for all kinds of people, and there's just a tremendous need out there. So weeding out is not something that we want to be doing as CS teachers. And I can assure you that Lockheed Martin and government agencies, Northrop Grumman, Verizon, T. Rowe Price, they need lots of help. They need lots and lots of people. And they don't want us at age 16 or 17 doing anything that's going to cause any of our students to say this coding stuff isn't for me. It's just that simple. They want help, and they want people who are excited about looking at code and fixing code and helping improve user experiences and all the many jobs that they have that they need help with. So as you think about how things go, maybe with the AP, what if you could take a cert when you're ready? What if you could come up to the moment where you were about to take the cert, like the AP, and you decided 2 days before the AP that you weren't ready, and you'd like to just postpone it a little bit? What if you could learn really quickly whether you passed or what your score was? We don't like agonizing and waiting till July to find out what our score was on the AP. What if you could get a credential that would qualify you for a job? It's a remarkable thing to think that if you have an Oracle cert, like an 819, you probably will have a very quick pass through the hiring process and get a job. So an Oracle cert is a fantastic sort of longer term goal to shoot for. What if you could indicate to everyone that you're a lifelong learner and a continuous improver? And what if we could start to train our students to do that now and take on some of the characteristics of lifelong learners? Though pursuing certs is something every company wants. They want students, they want people in their organization who are planning to build their skill set. And what if you could work to improve on vacations and holidays on your schedule, which obviously we can do this with this CodeHS online platform that we have. And finally, how could you set yourself apart in applications for college and internships? Well, certifications do all that. There's tremendous demand for our students, and we need to make them aware that coding is a good path forward for all of them. You saw Megan MacArthur's path all over the place: oceanographer, astronaut, and everything that she did, everything that she does has this sort of layer of software underneath it. Megan MacArthur is the pilot of the Crew Dragon mission, and the last 5 minutes or so, the pilots aren't allowed to actually touch the controls. They're watching the software do its thing, and that software is super important. So I found this article last year. GM, as you know, has made a major change in its approach, and they're going to major electric vehicles, and that's changing the way their whole company works, because the car is sort of becoming more of a user experience for them, and software is super important. And most of these 3,000 employees in engineering, design, and IT are going to be software engineers that GM has hired, and that's just the beginning. They're going to hire a bunch more people than that. So we have two sort of different learning paths, and I want to make sure that we're clear and differentiate between adult learners, career changers, and our students, our high school students that we work with, because they're different people, they're different animals. The adult learner and career changer is different than our high school student. Adult learners tend to invest larger chunks of time, where our high school students, you guys know, are super busy. They don't have as much time in a chunk to work. And I think you can look at certs, especially when I start talking about certs that are outside CodeHS, and see how a student might prepare for this and see to what extent they are useful in a high school setting. So in the case of Lockheed Martin, there are paid internships out there that start well before college graduation. Lockheed Martin has offered my students help with tuition. I could just go on and on about all the great things Lockheed Martin is looking to do for college and high school students. In addition to paying them a pretty good salary, that is not a misprint there, $20 to $25 an hour for paid internships at Lockheed Martin. And they're looking to bring people on board from high school and college with an eye towards these people continuing on as full-time employees starting the day after they graduate. So I'm going to hop a little bit here and say that I think of three levels of certification with respect to the Java language. And you have this nice CodeHS Java 1 cert that's a bit easier in the AP. So it's a nice thing to do even as a preparation for the AP, but certainly, your students who are feeling like they just couldn't quite get the course done with AP Java, or they lost track with some of the recursion and they're not sure if they got a 3 or a 4 or whatever. Those students can really hold on to that CodeHS Java 1 cert and feel, hey, I got a lot out of this year. I'm excited to have this cert. I'm going forward. And then the AP still sits in there somewhere as an option. And then on the other side of the AP, and I mentioned this is a little harder because its scope is a little bigger, you have the Oracle 811 cert, which was built by Oracle for high school students. It's a little harder than the AP, in my opinion, because it has try, catch, and some other stuff, some stuff about the Oracle, about the Java JDK and running stuff from the command line in it. But I think it's a very doable cert. And right now I have 7 students that are holding Oracle 811 certs, and they are very proud to have a cert that says Oracle on it. I can tell you there's a lot of currency out there to an Oracle 811 cert. Down the road, certainly not something you're going to get a first-year Java student to obtain just by virtue of having taken your AP Java class, but down the road is Oracle 819. And I would look at that as a second-year target. If somebody is taking AP Java as a sophomore or junior, it's something they could consider doing after another bit of study. Certs aren't for everyone. For some students, a cert is just another test they would rather not take. There's always going to be some students who are like that. They like doing the exercises or building projects. But I think it's great to think of certs as things that all the students in the classroom might benefit from. And, some students who are not, they walk in the first day of school and they know they're not going to end up being the top achiever in the class, but they can obtain one of these certs. They can pick up a CodeHS Java 1 cert, or they can even pick up one of the other CodeHS certs in some of your other classes. And that's a tremendous thing for some of these people that I call middle row certs, or even back row students, excuse me. They're not for everybody, but you don't be surprised when you get some people that you might not expect saying, hey, I want to get one of these certifications. you do want your students to get started with certs while they're in high school. So this will also put them, pushing CodeHS certs will put them on a path to getting used to the idea of obtaining certs after they graduate high school, or even after they graduate college. The idea that, you know, you're going to put some time into studying and preparing for a certification exam is a skill, and you can help them get started down there. And the CodeHS cert, I think, is a great starter certification. It's very well built program by CodeHS. So here we have the CodeHS JavaScript level 1, which is sort of a level down from Java. And if you get your students through the animation and games module, there are questions on timer on it. It takes about an hour. I think this is a great first cert. So the first cert any student might get in coding might very well be that CodeHS JavaScript level 1 cert. And when they finish that, you print this out and add your own signature to it and hand it to them. Make as big of a fuss as you can. I started putting them in folders, certification folders, and everybody loves this, including your administrators. The CodeHS Cyber Cert I really like, and we use the CodeHS Cyber course to prepare for this. They have to learn some terms and a language and begin to get an idea of all the different subfields of cyber. I think this is a nice cert, and I have students that have obtained this one. The Java Level 1, as I said earlier, I think is a great one for people who are considering the, you know, the AP or maybe even an Oracle cert. This is a great sort of slightly easier than the AP certification to pick up. So these 5, I think if I were coming to certs as sort of a new teacher, I would be looking at these 5: Java Level 1, Cyber, Python, JavaScript, and maybe even the web design cert. I think those are all terrific, and I would be pushing my students in those directions. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other certs that are out there. This is a slide about the Oracle 811. The CodeHS certs, vouchers for each of those certs are around $60 right now. When you get into other outside certs, the cost goes up. The Oracle 811 is $95. I happen to think it's very worth doing. It takes more than 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Tell your students that the passing score is 65%. That'll get them pretty excited about, hey, this is not an exam where I have to get a 95 or 100 to get the cert. You know, 65 will do it. And I think with the CodeHS ones, it's 70% gets you the certification. But you need to know, as you discuss certifications with your students, what the passing score is. These are some of the topics in the Oracle 811. As you look at any cert, that's what you want to zero in on. You want to find their topic list for that cert. And, you know, you're going to find that your students and you are pretty darn familiar with some of this stuff, and some of it's going to take a little extra work. You know, you as you teach AP Java, you go through all the reserved words and you have a pretty good idea what it means to compile and what it means to run the Java program. But some of the other stuff, you know, might be things that will require extra review time. And this is the end of the Oracle 811 topic list. And, you know, you want to use this to review. There are also practice exams and textbooks out there. I really like a couple of the textbooks for review for the Oracle 811. And this is the final, I think the final page of the topic list for Oracle 811 here. Here are a couple of other certs that we like at McDonough. CompTIA ITF Plus was designed by Microsoft to cover sort of soup to nuts IT and coding and a little bit of cyber in there. I like this one. It's expensive. It's around $180, I think, for the cert, but it's a nice cert for a high school student to aim for. And then we have Network Plus and Security Plus, which you're going to want to be aiming your cyber guys at. These are tough certs, take a lot of work, but you're going to have some students that are really, really excited about cyber. And I don't have any problem telling people that these are goals and that if you hold a Network Plus or especially a Security Plus, you're going to get slotted right in and have a great job and career. So those are sort of out there reach goal certs, the Network Plus and Security Plus. And these are some of the pages about ITF Plus that I dug up. And when I'm getting students ready for even just talking to a student about maybe getting one of these certs, this is where we go. We go and look at the topic list and look at the general description that the CompTIA or the other certification framer puts out there so that you can talk about it and see what's this cert really about. Let's see, this slide, I might be updated a little bit. Yeah, I've got some students with Python certs and they enjoyed doing that. CodeHS, we have some Python. I don't have anybody with a web design cert yet, but I'm gonna have some people maybe this year do this. We've used 17 vouchers so far this year, and next year will be around 17 to 20 vouchers that we'll be using. The other certs, I'm now up to 7 Oracle 811s. I don't have anybody yet with an 819. And I have a student who's in college who's got Security Plus. So I'm really proud of that. And please take some time on your own and look around and see what kind of certs are out there. Maybe you're teaching a different topic or you're in another area. Maybe you're doing a lot of work with mobile, and there's certainly a lot of interesting professional certs out there in just about every area of coding endeavor. And again, it just frames up the CodeHS certs nicely to talk about, well, if you start by taking a CodeHS cert, there are these other certs that can really help you in your career out in the future. So take some time and do some research. I think I'm going to throw this over to Linda right now, and you're going to talk to us a little bit about the micro-credentials, Linda.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And I know there's a couple of questions in the chat, and we'll definitely get to that. I actually wanted to throw out a couple before I talk about micro-credentials, Joe. I had a question from a teacher that was just simply asking about the college credit versus placement for AP. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit about the difference? I think that was Marcia.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I've had a lot of students take APs in the time I've been teaching AP Java, and I've had some talented students take it, and I've had a few people get some good scores on it. And I have not yet come across a college that was really excited about giving students credit. The notorious CS1 course in the colleges that I've been hearing about, they say, well, it's great that you got a little head start on Java, but we're not going to give you credit for the AP and probably not any kind of placement. So I wish I had better news there, but it's been my experience that the AP is what it is, and it does not at this time. You should not be planning, or your students should not be planning on actually getting either credit or a placement from the AP, even with a score of 4 or 5. That's my honest answer, Linda.
Yeah, and that was actually a common concern because I live in the state of Florida, and some of our state schools don't yet recognize, especially AP-CSP. A lot of them won't recognize it as, maybe they'll recognize it as an elective, but maybe not a core course within a computer science major. Yeah. So it's really difficult to, kind of gauge that. But taking something like a certification really does put that student in a completely different category for sure.
I agree with you, Linda.
Mm-hmm. This is awesome. And thank you so much, Joe, because you've given us so many things to think about, especially, not just the CodeHS certs, but the industry level certs and badges and all of those things that students can earn. I know a few teachers were asking, can you download the badges? If you right click, you can save the image of the badge. But we are working on the background here to go ahead and put that in as a request to make them downloadable as well with the actual name of the badge. So thank you for bringing that up. That's a great idea. But I wanted to talk a little bit about micro-credentials for teachers, because now it's summer and everybody has a little bit of time on their hands. And The micro-credentials for teachers mirror the same tests as students would. They have different questions, but they will cover the same topics. So we have 6 so far, and myself and a few other professional development specialists, we go in and just like a teacher would, we look at any pending reviews for those particular micro-credentials, and you can earn that. Also, you not only receive your badge, but you're able to utilize that in any place that you put those badges, whether it's your email signature. You can also, of course, put it on your teacher portfolio and so on. But each test is only $15, and there are some prep tests available if you'd like. And I'll send that out in our follow-up email here. But yeah, the 6 main micro-credentials that teachers can take are Java, web design, cybersecurity, Python, web development, and JavaScript. And again, those are all level 1. So we would love for more teachers to take micro-credentials. So definitely take a look at the link that Joni pasted into the chat here. And I want to make sure if you have any questions, let us know as well. You can always email me, linda@codehs.com, if you have questions about micro-credentials. But I'm going to turn it back over to Joe.
Okay. Yeah, I highly recommend these micro-credentials. I think it's a terrific thing to do. Well, the question then becomes how do you celebrate these things? You can, my classroom has certs where I just printed out, for example, course completion certs that students can pick up at the end of their course. Print those things out and print one copy and give it to the student with your signature. Please sign it yourself, and print another copy and put it on a magnet on the whiteboard or pin it somewhere in your classroom. If you have a student that's doing an internship and they get some recognition that way, do all those things that will reinforce to the students that this is something that you value and that your class values and that employers and college applications value, and you're sending a message that you're looking to expand your skill set, and saying, some students are like, well, what about a cert that I'm planning to get that I don't have? And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm preparing, I have a CodeHS Java 1 cert, and in addition to taking the AP this May, I'm planning to obtain an Oracle 811 in July or August. That's the way most people who are pursuing certs as adult learners and career changers work. So go ahead and do that. And I'm very grateful. I have to tell you, CodeHS has put a ton of effort into making these certifications available. This is not an easy thing, and reviewing them and keeping an eye out for cheats that might be out there, looking to evolve the certifications. It's a big deal, and CodeHS has shouldered the load and put the effort in, and I'm very grateful to the people at CodeHS. I'm also grateful to McDonough and my students and colleagues for encouraging us to push into this sort of building a certification culture. And I think that's it. I have one more video to show you guys, and then we'll wrap.
And as we leave the moon, we leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return.
You probably dreamed of this.
Liftoff on Apollo 11.
You probably replayed this moment 1,000 times.
Four wheels off the ground air.
You probably imagined the awe-inspiring, indescribable rush of the ride. You probably celebrated the miraculous, cheered the momentous, and mourned the shocking. You probably still dream of what could be. We did. We do. And while many thought we were through, no. We've been learning, we've been building, we've been training. And now, it's time. Because the next frontier is not just for the next generation. It's for this generation. It's for me, and it's for you. For everything we still dream about. We go as Artemis.
So I like that video and the one before it because they talk about dreams, and you guys all have dreams for your students. Your students have dreams. You know, their achievement and their future, it lies in things that they don't know exactly how they're going to get to. And I think that certifications, badges can be a powerful tool to encourage them to dream and to pursue their dreams and to take the steps that they need to take to be part of these incredible opportunities that are out there. That there are just incredible needs and incredible opportunities for your students. And there's a place for all of them. So I'm really excited about certs and badges and these particular exciting new forms of recognition that we can push for our students to help them. Thank you. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much, Joe. And yeah, this is really awesome that you framed it too, in the sense of, you know, looking at the students and their future and what they're looking to achieve, because many of these things that we're doing with them in high school, think about it, many other courses that they will take in high school won't have the same kind of long-term impact like these courses that allow them to get these industry level skills and certifications. So it's really, really cool. I have a couple of questions here in the chat, so I wanted to ask you, Joe. It says,
happy to do that.
Yeah,
Sure.
How do you keep students from going to the test and giving it a try, just starting without you?
Well, in the case of certs, it's pretty hard to do. You need to get a hold of a voucher, which is $60, and you get there's a timed test. And like I said, it's not easy for CodeHS to have developed these to the extent they have. So they will not have a chance. They will not be able to look at the test before they're ready. So I don't look at that particular issue as an issue right now. I'm not aware of cheats or ways around the CodeHS certs, and that's honestly part of what makes a cert worth doing. Is does the company that stand behind it take policing measures to make sure there aren't cheats out there on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically not, to my knowledge, is not a problem right now with CodeHS certs.
That's great. And is there, Deborah asked, are there practice exams to know if they are ready? So Deborah, I'm going to throw into chat another link for you. There are some practice exams that both teachers can use for themselves, for the micro-credentials, and for the students as well. So Joni dropped that in to the chat there. Yeah.
And I'd like to answer that too, Linda, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So of course, students want to feel like they're ready. And how do they know if they're ready? Well, with all the CodeHS certs, the certification questions are close to or modeled on the multiple choice questions that are on the end of module quizzes. So for example, if you have a student that's doing Java and they're looking to do the Java level 1 cert, you want to make sure that that student has completed all the quizzes for the different modules in CodeHS. So there are 10 modules in AP Java, and they would want to have done all those and feel pretty confident about their scores. A lot of times you'll see students that are feeling like they need to have really high scores on the quizzes in order to take the cert, and you'll need to kind of push them a little bit, say, look, you finished the course, you got these decent scores on the quizzes, you're ready to take this cert. And you're going to have students that you're going to need to give that encouragement to do that. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, and we so Joni did paste the practice exams in the chat, and that's helpful for, as I said, for teachers and students. Teacher micro-credentials actually kind of came out of teachers in webinars like these, where we would go over information about student certifications, and then teachers were like, well, what about us? I honestly think it's a great way for you to see the process that your students take. and what they will experience, so that you can speak to it. But before we go, I'm going to add a couple more links to the chat here. We have some upcoming workshops and also a workshop survey for today. We would love to hear a little bit more about, what types of workshops you'd like to see in the future, and how we can help you kind of get up and running. So definitely take a look at that. You can go to codehs.com/free PD for the upcoming workshops. We have a jam-packed week with intro to Python, JavaScript, and microbit this week. So take a look at that free PD link, as well as the workshop survey. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in there again. And you'll see that at the bottom. We value your feedback. Would love to hear from you. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And if there are no more questions, I would, we can stop the recording and we can hang out and chat until 5:30 Eastern here.